to an old-fashioned turkey shoot. The name sticks.
I forget how many, we downed nearly all of them. And the pilots came back laughing that it was just a turkey shoot. If I'm not mistaken, Enterprise was credited with downing around 70 of all those planes that day.
The Great Marianas Turkey Shoot completely devastates Japan's naval air forces.
Our fighters just completely annihilated them. The biggest real air battle of the war. It was a tremendous day for aircraft carrier aviation.
For Gargoyle Ozawa, the losses are devastating, and his troubles are far from over. That afternoon, aircraft carrier Shokaku, Enterprise's nemesis from the Eastern Solomons and Santa Cruz, enters the crosshairs of USS Kavala. The American sub fires off a salvo of torpedoes and scores 3 direct hits on the carrier. Burning and settling low in the water, the flames reach her powder magazine and blow the ship apart. The flat top that helped launch the Pearl Harbor attacks pitches into the deep. Payback. Only miles away, carrier Taiho, Ozawa's flagship, presses through the surf. Earlier that day, she was hit by U.S. submarine Albacore. But the damage seems minor. Her crew has no idea that their fate is sealed. A sudden explosion of gas vapors roars through the ship, tears open her flight deck, bulges her sides and punches holes in her hull. As the sun sets over the bloody waters off the Marianas, Ozawa watches as his flagship slips beneath the waves. The American task force has just destroyed the pride of the Japanese carrier fleet. 2 of the enemy's finest ships sent to the bottom by American firepower, and hundreds of their warplanes blown out of the sky. But back aboard Enterprise, the day's victory is shadowed by frustration. The Big E's own bombers and torpedo planes have failed to hit the enemy fleet.
So then the problem was, we still had to find the Japanese.
Though Taiho and Shokaku have been sunk, Ozawa's task force still packs a menacing punch. As the sun rises over the Philippine Sea, Mark Mitcher knows that the surviving Japanese must be stopped. The situation is getting desperate. If he doesn't find the Japanese within the next few hours, it will be too late to launch a major airstrike, and he will simply have to fight the same ships again. Victory hangs in the balance. June 20th, 1944. The Imperial Navy has been sent to halt an American offensive at Saipan. The U.S. fleet has been putting up a vicious fight, blasting hundreds of enemy planes out of the sky. Yet, Enterprise and her carrier comrades have been unable to locate the main enemy fleet. Now, the skies over the Philippine Sea are filled with American airplanes on the hunt for Admiral Ozawa. Target, the Japanese fleet. Objective, drive the remains of Ozawa's task force from the Philippine Sea. Strategy, fly constant searches until the Imperial ships are spotted and destroyed. But the seek and destroy mission goes on for hours. And still, Admiral Mark Mitcher cannot find Admiral Ozawa. Tension is high aboard the Big E as the afternoon wears on. But at 3:40 p.m., they hit pay dirt. 300 miles away, Enterprise search planes finally discover the enemy fleet. Among the Enterprise sailors in the sky is Tom Watts of Torpedo Squadron 10.
I was in one of the search planes and found them that next day.
Now, Mark Mitcher paces the deck of Carrier Lexington, knowing that the next few hours could change the course of the entire campaign. It will be 4 p.m. before he can refuel his bombers and get them airborne. If they launch late in the day, the air groups will have to fly for 2 hours before they reach the enemy. And even if they survive the battle, they will have to find their way back to the carriers in the dark. Sending the attack now could be a death sentence for hundreds of American pilots. a disaster for the entire Navy. But as each minute passes, Mitcher realizes that complete victory slips further away. Finally, he gives a simple order: launch them. Within minutes, in the ready rooms of Enterprise and every flat top in the fleet, Mitcher's final orders are chalked on the blackboards. Get the carriers. 4:30 p.m. 240 Hellcats, Avenger torpedo planes, and dive bombers roar through the skies over the wine dark Philippine Sea. They head right into the late afternoon sun, on the prowl for Admiral Ozawa. Killer Kane leads the Enterprise strike. 11 dive bombers, 5 Avengers, and 12 F-6F Hellcat fighters. Among the pilots are Flash Gordon and James Jig-Dog Ramage. Every pilot knows the factors of speed, distance, time, and fuel. Flash Gordon is thankful he's in a Hellcat with a belly tank.
We had a lot of fuel in the Hellcat because we had umpteen fuel if you just knew how to conserve.
But leading the older, slower SBDs, Jig-Dog Ramage is less optimistic. He warns his rear seat gunner, Dave Cawley.
So I called Cawley and said, looks like we're gonna have a bath tonight, so get everything ready.
The Enterprise flyers head into a blood-red sun, uncertain of combat, dead certain that the next few hours could spell disaster. 6:30 p.m. Finally, after 2 hours in the air, Killer Kane's air group spots the enemy fleet. 12,000 feet below, they've discovered a major part of Ozawa's force. 3 carriers, Ryuho, Junyo, and Hiyo, and cruisers Mogami and Nagato. It's a free-for-all. Kane's forces immediately split up and make a run for the enemy vessels. The Japanese surface ships open up with a deadly fusillade of flak as the dive bombers and Hellcats begin their assault. But they keep right on coming. Jig-Dog Ramage and 5 SBDs line up for a bombing run on the carrier Ryuho. Jig-Dog wings over and makes a steep dive on the enemy ship.
I put the pipper, as we called it, just forward of the bow and went down to the 2,000 feet, maybe a little lower, dropped my bomb.
Ramage delivers 1,000 pounds of tear on the Ryuho and immediately pulls out of his dive. It's a crippling near miss. One by one, 4 other SBDs drop their payloads over the Imperial flat top. From his rear seat position, Cawley gets a choice opportunity to admire the grisly work of his comrades. Ryuho has been mauled, and carrier Hiyo is wounded by torpedoes and is burning. Enterprise bomb hits help finish her off. Just as the Hellcats rejoin the dive bombers, Flash Gordon spots a target of opportunity.
We're down on the water, maybe 10 miles east. I saw Zero headed west, about 900 feet.
Gordon immediately firewalls the Hellcat and pulls the big plane into a half loop and a half roll. He races after the Zero, draws a bead, and cuts loose with his rapid-fire 50s.
Pulled up in the top of a loop and shot him down. He blew up. Then we came back down and joined up with the bombers.